Okay, good morning everyone, and welcome to today's panel discussion. For those who do not know, I am Jo-Ann Prinsloo, the podcast journalist for Health for Mzansi, and I'll be facilitating this discussion this morning. And to the others who don't know in the room, Health for Mzansi is a publication, a Kasi health and wellness publication that focuses on various themes and topics that's relevant and to help South Africans to move from a space of just surviving to thriving. And that's what we all want, right? And today's discussion, we're focusing on the beauty within, or inner wellness. And I have experts in the room to just shed some light on the beauty within, touching on various aspects such as nutrition, as in what we eat, physical health, bone health, and spiritual health. So I'm going to allow the ladies to introduce themselves, and we'll start off with on our far left.
Thank you, Jo-Ann. My name is Bronwen Bayman. I am the founder of a business called Mindful Practice. This business facilitates alternative healing to people one-on-one. We do mindfulness workshops. And today I'm going to wear the spiritual coaching hat to talk to the topic. So lovely to be here.
Hey everyone, I'm Claudia Van Schalkwyk. I am an holistic transformational coach. I am first and foremost a dermatologist. So before the time I was very fixated on the external beauty up until my late sister Leonie was diagnosed with lymphoma cancer stage 4. And that led me to discover that we are mind, body, and soul, and that is how I became an holistic transformational coach. And I am here to change each soul one by one. That is why I'm here.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Robyn February. I am here as a nutritional coach, amongst many others. I went into nutritional coaching after I had a near-death experience myself. So I was always a sports person, so I generally loved a healthy lifestyle. But I didn't really have the awareness of what nutrition does for your body until I landed in hospital due to a drug reaction, and I was close to death. And then I got a second chance, and that is when I decided to dedicate my life to teaching others how to live healthily, and that is why I'm here today.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Tereza Hough, and I'm the CEO of the National Osteoporosis Foundation. And it sounds very dull compared to these other ladies. But I got involved in bone health and osteoporosis about 35 years ago, when we had little old ladies who fractured their bones when they sneezed or picked up a pack of groceries. And we started the foundation 30 years ago. And we want to educate everyone that we need to look after the structure. Your bones is the structure of your body. So you need to start looking after it from birth until the day you die, because bone is a living tissue. So I hope we can all learn and teach you about our bodies and how to look after it.
Thank you so much. And thank you so much, ladies, for your time and for being here. Please do remember it's an engaging session, so a welcome conversation. If you just want to say anything, you can just indicate to me. But I think I'll kick off the conversation with you, Bronwen, from the spiritual perspective. How would you define beauty within, or inner wellness?
Yeah, so inner beauty, first of all, I think beauty is always in the eye of the beholder. So two people can look at a scene and have completely different reaction to what they see based on their filters. So if I take a picture of a beautiful mountain, I will look at it and say, oh, God's creation. I draw strength from that, it's magnificent. And another person might look at it and say, it's just a rock, you know. So inner beauty is it's got very little to do with physical attraction and looks. It's more about the beauty within, as it says, and it resonates with certain characteristics like kindness, honesty, humility, patience. It's how you show up in the world, and people, I think someone that masters the art of inner beauty will walk into a room in their fullness and in their wholeness, and people will see that without them opening their mouths because of the energy that they attract. And when you are in that state of fullness, your cup kind of runs over and it's very difficult to contain it. So, I mean, if you think of someone like Oprah, I mean, her ambience, her energy, she walks in the room and everybody notices it and is attracted to that like a magnet. To me, that is what pure inner beauty is. It is the ability to shine without doing much because you already have it in you.
Okay. You mentioned something interesting about, mastering, the inner beauty. What are those tools that you need to use to master that?
I think if you are in control of your life holistically, like this lady will talk to that, you have to be in control of the mind and the body and the spirit. So with that, it takes practice, and it takes a daily practice. It is a way of living. It is not something you can just do today and again next month. It is something you have to incorporate in your life every day. And some of the daily practices is you've got to practice. I've looked at this a long time, and if you look at people that are very successful in the term of having their stuff together, not money in the bank necessarily. If you look at those type of people, what is the pattern that they practice? And to be honest, it's very simple. Most of the time it comes down to the simple act of gratitude. So if you can find 5 minutes in your day, every day, to incorporate gratitude in your morning or your evening, in your daily practice, it shifts a lot. And what I mean by that is, if you're in a state of gratitude, you are forcing your mind and your body to raise that vibration. You're in a certain vibration. If you're in that vibration energetically and you think grateful thoughts, I'm grateful for the rain, I'm grateful for my health, I'm grateful for my family, I'm grateful for my financial security, whatever it is, when you are in that state and you force your brain to go there regularly, make it a daily practice, what it does, it reduces the space for fear and uncertainty and doubt. And so the positivity reigns in that space. And so if you trigger yourself to go to that space daily, you shift negativity down. And that is the art of gratitude, which ties into inner beauty. And it's something, we all want to strive for a better life. We all want to strive to have peace and calm and control and success. So for me, I've looked at this from many angles. It's got to be more complicated. It's not. It's simple. It's gratitude. Practice that. Tie it in with faith if you're religious, and tie it in with just taking the space for your time. If you don't have 5 minutes for your time for yourself, then to show up better in your day, then it's kind of sad that you don't have that, and we as busy women, and I'm a single mom of 3, I have 2 jobs at the moment, and you have to really force yourself to take that 5 minutes for yourself.
And I'm sure affirmations go with that,
yes.
Like how you set your intention for your day, for your life,
In your little ritual, you it's like you speaking it out, that you're going to have a great day, and you get yourself in that positive state of mind. You maybe do a little meditation, you do some breathing techniques to lower your anxiety. Breath is the one thing that you can control. I always say you can't control what goes on in government, in society, in the weather. You can control your breath. Number one thing you can control. And so you always have to, when you're feeling out of sorts, always, if you remember one thing today, remember that you can control your breath. And that is like a secret weapon. So if you do proper breathing, like deep belly breathing, the type where you go, breathe through your nose, your tummy goes out, and you exhale, tummy goes in. That's the proper way of breathing when you want to reach the proper, rich oxygen to pump to your lungs, to your brain, the rest of the body. It lowers your the blood rate, and you get calmer, and it puts you in a good space. So those are the secret weapons.
Sorry, I had to say something there. The breath of fire she's talking about. It is a powerful, powerful breath. It's called the breath of fire because it actually literally brings fire up. Starts raising fire up into the body, and you'll feel rejuvenated after practicing that breath. It's an amazing method that you can use even if you feel down and depressed, or you're really feeling, that you're out of sync and not in balance. If you do that breath for 5 minutes every day, it will balance the body, because that's what we want. We all want balance in our lives. So that is exactly so. I love the breath of fire. I practice that every day.
They call it priming as well. So priming is a ritual that you can do to pump oxygen to the brain. And the more oxygen you have, the more energy you have, and the more thoughts you have, and the more productive you can be. That is really what it's about, It's and getting yourself in that state. And once you are in that state, you're able to tackle your day. You're able to tackle the difficult stuff that comes your way. Yeah.
I have an idea. I think we should all do some breathing exercises after this panel discussion that we can know how to implement that in our daily lives. But Claudia, Bronwen mentioned something about, inner beauty or beauty within has nothing to do with, what we see or the external. Yet a lot of, I would say, what you do is everything that you see, gymming, physical exercise. So how would you say that impacts what goes on inside?
I think the physical outer body is just like the paradigm. The real work happens inside. And I think that is what people miss, because the mainstream media wants us to believe that there's a magic pill that you can drink and you're going to feel good. You're going to feel amazing. Although you look great, if you stand in front of that selfie and you take that selfie and you post it and everyone thinks, oh wow, she looks amazing. That is not sometimes the truth. So physical beauty is really just the paradigm. We have to do the inner work. Because like I always say, your mind is the biggest muscle you will ever train. And like the lady said now, is that when you feed your brain, the body will follow. When you feed your mind, your body follows after that. So we cannot heal or fix one side of the body only. Every single part of our bodies are connected. Our spirit is connected to our soul. The soul, the mind, our intellect, our feeling, our emotion is what makes us physical. So if you don't feel like working out, you're not going to work out. That is where the emotion comes from. So you need to steer that emotion first to get you into gym. That is why I say the mind is the biggest muscle you will train, because you have to train the mind first before you can step into gym and actually lift those weights up. It's also the mind and the muscle connection that I teach. That is the foundation of my teaching, is the mind and the muscle connection. There needs to be a connection in the spirit for you to be able to stand there and have the outer beauty. I always say, inner awareness, it brings outer peace.
Okay. And speaking about feeding your mind, I just want to briefly move on to actually feeding your body, Robyn. What has food got to do with how we feel inside?
Generally, food is optimal for general health and mental wellness. So good nutrition helps with people that have, if you have depression, yes, you are told to take this medication, that medication, but if you are not feeding your body the right nutrition, then your mental health will not be what it's supposed to be. Besides the fact that good nutrition is good for optimal physical health as well, your immune system is affected if you don't have good nutrition. Your gut health, which has got a lot to do with how you radiate outward as well. So I mean, we've got so many people that are not educated on what good nutrition does for themselves. But I think that mainly mental health has a great effect on what people put inside their bodies. We can avoid that so much. It's not necessarily what happens to us all the time. But if we are not educated that bad foods affect our mental health, then we're not really going to grow in that aspect.
Do you think it's a myth or a misconception when people say good or nutritious food is expensive and people can't access it? It
can be expensive. It can be expensive depending on what type of good nutrition you choose. But generally, good nutrition, but it depends also on availability. Accessibility to our bad foods, takeaways and so on. I don't want to call it bad foods, but less healthy foods. It is more available than what our healthier alternatives are. If we don't have healthy foods in our grocery stores, then obviously we would tend to go towards the less healthy foods. Beans and lentils, those are affordable types of foods that we can add to our plates during the day. Growing your own foods, that comes into education. We are not always educated on how to grow foods, from the earth. It's simple things. Oats as well, which is generally an affordable food, is high in protein, our micronutrients, vitamins, and so forth. So generally, we need to have a wholesome range of food that we eat that is balanced, that contains our macronutrients, carbohydrates, proteins, fats. That is what we need to consume every single day. Good fats, avocados, which is quite expensive. But eggs are generally affordable. That contains our fats as well. Some people, Claude has a phobia towards eggs. But generally, for those who do want to live an affordable lifestyle, that is healthy for themselves. Oats, beans, lentils, eggs, your grains such as whole wheat rice, even white rice is good for within portion. But we tend to think that if we buy large bulk sizes of white grains and so on, that we are fine. But how much nutrients you actually get from those mazes and so on? It doesn't feed your mind, it doesn't feed your body what it requires. And then, children go through schools thinking, okay, my stomach is full, but how much nutrients do you actually have from your foods, vitamins, minerals, to actually sustain you during that day? Your body requires energy just to breathe, to sleep, to metabolize your food. Those are just natural things that you need energy for. What about if you go and play sport? You need to study all of those things. Brain fuel. That is why it is so important that our communities get educated on what food does for their bodies and what type of foods needs to be incorporated in your balanced meals every day.
Teresa, I didn't forget about you. Don't worry. We're getting insight to our bone structures and just listening on, the spiritual side of things, the physical health and the nutritional health. How does all of this play a role with our actual bone health?
Well, what I've been listening to now, and I think it ties in so very well with our bone health, because you can't see your bones. But it's basically like looking after the structure of your body, of looking after the structure of a house. So if you don't maintain that by being physically active, by being mentally active, by being good nutrition or have good nutrition, your bones are not going to keep your body up. So and that's obviously where my focus is. So, and you can't feel your bones becoming thinner. And we must remember that bones are it's a living tissue. Your bones are a living tissue, and it dies the day you die. So from birth until you die, you need to look after your bones. You need to feed your bones with exercise, with good food, calcium, vitamin D, from spending time outside in the sun. So yes, it does tie in very well with my with my bony objective. And I think we focus on, and people think that because I work with osteoporosis, it's only an old lady's disease. Yeah. It's not. We get kids with osteoporosis, we get young people with osteoporosis for various reasons. And you've spoke about the paradigm of beauty on the outside. And our teenage girls, they diet, they want to look like models.
Yes.
So anorexia, and we're getting it more and more in our younger teenage boys too. They get anorexia, so they stop eating things that are good for bones, like dairy, because it's a fatty thing. So they cut out dairy, which is an extremely important thing for your bones.
So just on that, what you're saying now, Teresa, is it possible to look fairly, I would say, presentable, okay, on the outside, but on the inside is something wrong?
Yeah, we call it the silent disease, not for nothing, because it's almost like having a high cholesterol. You can't feel your cholesterol being high, but your first sign is a heart attack. So with the same with bones too. You can't feel your bones becoming thinner, because the first sign of that might be a fracture of either the hip or the forearm, or you become shorter. And I think you've asked me that in the email. What are the signs of unhealthy bones? So in older people, obviously, you can become shorter. You see your hems of your dresses becoming longer and longer. You need to shorten them. Because you can't feel always that your vertebra is going flat. So those are the signs. Obviously, what we call a fracture after minor trauma, falling from a standing height and breaking something, any bone, is usually osteoporosis. And there are various diseases in our younger kids, like osteogenesis imperfecta, the real brittle bone disease in the kids, because I think we've started focusing on educating kids. Because we've also known that kids started educating their parents and their grandparents. So it's much more important to focus on educating them to start eating right, because eating right is for the rest of your life. It's so important. It feeds everything. Not only your body, but your bones. My passion is obviously the bones.
Yeah. Sure. It's interesting stuff. So I think if I can just throw it to the audience, maybe if we have a question from the audience for any one of the ladies.
That's great. Teresa, a lot of people, in my opinion, identify themselves by cutting out certain foods. So sometimes I think it's because nutritionally I think there's too much information. So they start limiting. They start saying, I don't eat that. Because it's just too much to think of how to balance your food. And dairy specifically is one of those people like to throw under the bus. What is your opinion about dairy? I want to say I love dairy. I love my milk. I can't live without cheese. What is your opinion as a specialist of dairy?
Well, obviously you've said it. There's been such a question about dairy over the years. Is dairy good or bad for you? Is dairy only good for calves, or is it good for humans too? It's good for humans too. And it's the cheapest, best way to get your calcium amount for the day. And we recommend 1,000 milligrams. That means 3 dairy portions a day. Okay, so now the guys with the high cholesterol is going to say, but there's so much fat in it. Your lower fat and skim milk options actually contain a little bit more calcium, so there's no excuse for you not to take dairy. So definitely, and it's a global view. Dairy is good for you. It's good for your bones. It's good for other things too. It contains protein that you need. So the view from the Osteoporosis Foundation, and I think globally in the bone field, is that dairy is definitely good for you. Obviously, and now the lactose intolerant people are going to say that they're lactose intolerant, and it's a big problem in huge communities in South Africa. There are so many lactose-free milks available at the moment, and remember that if it's fermented, like in yogurt or in cheese, it's much more friendly on lactose intolerant people's guts. So there are no excuses not to take dairy. So as you can say, I'm a dairy prophet.
Yeah, if I may add to that, for those that choose not to add products like dairy into their diets, there are alternatives. You need to find the alternative in order to get what you generally find in dairy into your diet, like your proteins, your calcium, stuff like that. Because people think like, okay, I'm not going to eat dairy, I'm not going to eat carbs. They think carbs are bad for you, or this type of protein, red meats, this type of meats, and so on and so forth. But you need to find an alternative, because your body needs those things in order to maintain your body. Nutrition, good foods helps the body to restore itself, to restore cells and tissues in the body that you need in order for your bones to grow, for your organs to work properly. So yeah, and carbs and dairy.
It doesn't taste as good though.
The alternatives can be more pricey as well.
Yeah.
So what is on the market is generally the more affordable option for those that, for you to consume the right things that your body needs.
My question will go, I think, to the ladies on the side. And it's about trauma, and I think you mentioned earlier about your sister and cancer. So when you go through a traumatic experience, whether it's yourself or someone close to you, it affects you inwardly, your equilibrium, it makes you question a lot of things about yourself, and sometimes it shows on the outside and mostly on the inside. So I guess my question to you is, where do you start to get back to that inner peace and inner health, and just to get back to that place where you can say, it's all right, I'm fine, and start working on yourself?
So from a more spiritual, I think that is more spiritual point of view that you're asking. And from my own opinion, if I would be in that situation, it's very important that you seek God in a situation like that, because trauma, emotional trauma, it gets stuck in our organs. It gets stuck in our organs, but how do we actually release those things? How do we surrender to the emotion that we are feeling? And some of us, we like to suppress it and oppress that feeling, and we keep it stuck into the bodies, and our physical bodies, like you say, will start reacting towards that, because stress, in all honesty, is the leading cause for, if not all, chronic disease in our bodies now. So what we have to do is we have to come to a place where we have to become connected to spirit. And whoever that spirit is for you, whoever that higher power is for you, you know, it's not about religion, it's about being connected to the spirit, knowing that you cannot do things in your own power, knowing that you need external power, you need higher power to help you, to give you that strength to go through the trauma. But you have to also understand that it is part of life. You know, when my sister passed away with cancer, the realization of me coming to understanding that death is part of life was the big acceptance for me. So once we accept that trauma happened to us, then we can start dealing with that trauma. And that for me is actually the first point of reference, is accepting this is what happened to me now. Now, how do I move forward? How do I heal from the inside out and not allow the emotion or the trauma to overtake our organs and then transmute into a physical disease and symptoms in our bodies?
Yeah, she's summed it up very well. You're talking about healing essentially, so you have to heal. You have to heal that trauma. And if you look at the 5, I call it the big 5 negative emotions. So that would be fear, anger, sadness, guilt, and hurt. Those 5 negative emotions goes with life and with trauma especially. And when they get stuck in your body, you need to find the tools and the ways to get it shifted. And within that shift, the healing happens. So you either seek, and I'm not talking of medication will treat the symptom, but the inner work will shift that stuck emotion completely. So you can, there's various avenues to do it. I mean, you can seek out the healer, you can seek out the alternative way to do that, and go that route, or you can do it yourself, and this ties in with the daily practice. How do you find yourself? You only find yourself in the quiet moments, but if you need a coach, then you need to go that way. Yeah.
Thanks for a great discussion. Quick question. What role do cultural and societal expectations play in shaping the perceptions of inner beauty, specifically amongst township women? And how can we influence or change that to create a more inclusive picture of what health and wellness is for these women?
I think it's education.
Yeah.
Education is the key. And, you're never too old to learn. And creating this platform, creating the workshops that I create in my business as well, is talking about it. And the more we talk about it, the more we share a perspective about it, the more you do that click in your head that say, but it's okay to look the way I look, because I'm okay with it. And it's not up to society to dictate that I need to wear a size 10 and look this way. We shift the perspectives by talking about it, and we lead the way in doing that.
And I think it's important to create functional healing within the community. You know, within your community, create these kind of forums where women can have this sanctuary, like a safe space for them to learn and educate themselves. And we can educate the women and the mothers of the homes for these young girls to then shift their perspective of what is worthiness really about? Well, what do I need to feel like to be able to say I'm worthy of? You know, and I think when we shift that perspective.
And I think shift it for boys too.
Yes,
and men.
yes, of course.
Males need beauty within too.
Yeah. But create functional healing forums within the community to help the paradigm.
Ivan, you're talking about the townships specifically too, because I think it's not only education in those townships. I think it's a broader education because every culture views another culture differently, and I think we don't understand cultures always. And I think the education, as you said, it just needs to broaden so much more. But because I've been so fortunate to be able to go to the townships and educate them about bones. And the misconception that it's only a little old white lady's disease it's still so rife out there. And I know, and we know with research in this country, it affects everyone. So, and it's not only bones that affect everyone, it's the spiritual and all the other concepts and things that work together to create inner beauty. I think a forum like this is amazing because it just goes out to such a wider audience, and I think and it speaks to so many people. So I think more of this, please.
Yes. Yeah, physical education, I would say, is a good tool to use. Like, as you mentioned, actually going out to townships, showing them so that they can actually see, that bone disease affects anybody, everybody. And when it comes to nutrition, show them how to plant better foods, grow their foods, and empower them. In the end, it doesn't just teach them how to eat healthily, but it also helps them to empower themselves in terms of businesses as well.
Sustainability.
Yes, sustainability. I mean, speaking to them, they don't have the knowledge to always understand what you are saying, but for them to actually see the alternative to what they are currently doing, to what they can do. That is what we need more in our communities at the moment.
So my question is based on emotional eating, good nutrition, and the technique we give on the likes of bread, mealie, and rice.
Okay.
So how does maybe an emotional eater deal with eating good when they feel comfortable in certain foods?
Yeah, I think that's where you first need to do the realization of what you need to do in order to heal. So you first need to work on yourself spiritually and mentally in order for you to actually start making those good decisions for yourself. Because if you are not in a good mental space, you can't, organize your life the way it should be organized. You can't make good decisions. Or you struggle to make those good decisions because on an emotional aspect, you are not balanced. So you first need to find the balance in your emotionally and spiritually. And in terms of bread and mealie meal, it's not bad foods. It's the quantity that is taken in by people that's where the problem comes in. So balancing it out with your proteins, we get it from chicken, we get it from meats, whatever source of meats people can afford to buy. It's just about creating a balance. Your eggs and so on, your grains. Like I mentioned, cans of beans, lentils, you can buy it in packs, which is not expensive. You cook it in bulk, along with how you cook your mealie meal and so forth in bulk. Beans, lentils, you can actually have a lot of it, and it's a high source of protein and fiber also that is good for your health in general. So there are those other sources of bulk foods that can be incorporated into, say, poorer communities, or even just people that just don't know how to eat.
Do you think government has a role to play there in terms of lentils and beans specifically? Because you get a lot of maize, and you get a lot of maize that's infused or enhanced with vitamins. But what about the Imbo range, for instance? Should those be almost supported by government in a way?
Yeah, that's where our grocery stores come in. You know, I mean, if those foods are not readily available in our stores, then they would go to the other alternative, which they know that they grew up with. Okay, this is what we eat, you know. But if those options are not there, they're not going to try it out, you know. And if those options are not affordable for them, also they're also not going to try it out. So that is where government comes in, you know, to assist these communities, or just in general, communities that are brought up to only eat certain foods. Yeah.
Because if you eat more protein, it builds more muscle and it gives you more strength at the end of the day when you grow older. So for me, I'm in my late 40s, middle 40s, not late 40s. Middle 40s. I know now that if I want to build more muscle, which is better for menopause because I'm premenopausal. So if I'm going to, you know, going to my menopause stage, and if I want to have my bones stronger, I would want to eat more protein because that is what builds more muscle. So the lentils and the beans, and that is definitely a better option for government to look at, rather than the maize and the rice and the white rice and all of that. So I would definitely say yes, you've touched on a very good point for government to look at.
Before we get to the gentleman at the back, yes, Robyn?
So another thing I want to add is that it's important for people to know that you should eat. Eating is important, and the amount that you eat is also very important. You know, people think like, okay, with regards to weight loss, I shouldn't eat, or I should eat less. That is where you actually you put your body into a starvation mode, and then you look in the mirror and you ask like, why do I still look this way, or why am I feeling this way? I'm getting this aches and pains, and that, you know, all of these tie down to diseases that you build within yourself because you're not feeding yourself. So feeding yourself is important.
I want to add into that. I think it's a mental relationship that we have with food, that our community have with food, because food is our fuel. It is our energy. It's what drives our physical body every single day. So we need to think about food differently. And because of the emotional state, there's a lot of women that eat out of emotions, out of trauma. What do they go? They go to the food, but they go to the unhealthy food. So to come back to your question with, you know, how do we make the right choices when you are feeling emotional? How do you choose? It's when you start saying to yourself, I eat not because I'm hungry, I eat because I need to fuel my food. And then your choices becomes different. Then you eat not because of hunger, but you eat because what can I now eat to feed my bones? What can I eat to feed my body so that I can be a healthier version of me? And that is when I eat something, I eat like, why do I eat this? You know, the blueberries, it's for my brain. Why do I eat the carrots? It's for my eyes. You know, spinach, because I'm Popeye. What do you call that guy? Popeye. I want to be strong. You know, that's why I live on spinach. So these are the kind of things that we need to teach our community, that the relationship that you have with food will have to change if you want to see change physically in the mirror, and change also coming from within.
Just to link what I want to say with that is, you know, when you know better, you do better. So when you have the knowledge of this food group gives me this type of energy, or is there though a point of no return? Can we start in our late 40s or whatever and start eating more protein to help our bone structure, or is it too late?
No, I will never say it's too late, because it's never too late to do anything. And I can just draw it back to my field. I think there's still a conception or a misconception out there that once you have bad bones, you can't do anything about it, or that it's a normal part of aging. It's rubbish. 80-year-olds, we all know what healthy 80-year-olds look like. you talk about muscles. I mean, when you have a good muscle system, you can prevent a fall and you can prevent breaking your hip. So it's a misconception that it's too late to do anything. So even if you start in your 40s and you're still a baby in your 40s to build muscle and to build bone, you will never retrieve what you've lost, but you can prevent further loss. Yes. So I think that is the message. It's never too late to start doing anything to yourself.
I just want to go back to the question my colleague posed regarding trauma. But I want to focus on boy-child. Is there enough platforms like this where a focus is on a boy-child who went through abuse or who saw his mother being abused, and how critical are these type of forums for a boy-child to be part of and to speak up about such experience that they've experienced in the past?
I think it's critical. I don't think we have enough of it, and I'm so tired of talking about it. Actually, I want to do and to give and to empower you and to transform you, and But what is the best way to do it? Maybe bring it into the education system. It is the more what we're talking about today is so important. And if I look at life, there's these 4 pillars which are interchangeable, and it's spiritual, emotional, physical, mental. You can't. They're all linked. So if you don't fix the emotional, then you're gonna eat more the wrong stuff. If you don't fix the physical, then you're gonna not feel so healthy either. If you don't eat right, you're not gonna feed the mind. They're all linked. These are these 4 pillars that we need to focus on. But come back to your question, there's a great need in society for people to get access to professionals that doesn't cost them an arm and a leg. Yeah. Not everybody has medical aid to go see a psychologist or a psychiatrist or a doctor. And there are alternatives. I'm a big fan of alternative healing. And I give that to people at a more affordable approach to it. And you come and see me, you lie in a bed, you don't even have to talk about the situation. I run your body's energy, clear out your body's energy to clear out those blockages. And 3 minutes later, you wake up refreshed with a different perspective. People don't know about it, they're kind of scared about it, but it's not scary. It's really just coming back to the education. Let's talk about it. Let's do something about it. Let's empower people to find the right professional to go to that is accessible and affordable. That I think is key.
Sorry, and I think your whole thing is about men and boys in society. Because everyone has this conception that men need to be strong. They cannot be abused by women, which is a myth. We all know that. And I think the trauma that boys and some men also are experiencing is sort of a no-no topic in many cultures and many communities. So I think education specifically towards boys and men are definitely more needed.
Yeah, I think our society is still so stuck on just the certain problems that we've been preaching all the years, that is women abuse and all the general that is just we hear every single day, but we don't delve deeper into what's in between that. Men are such a huge part of society. We can't do without them. And vice versa, we can't do without women, but we can't ignore them because they are supposed to be the stronger, species, the stronger version.
We might disagree with that, but we will just tell them they're stronger.
We should. that, Tereza. But thank you so much to the response and to the questions as well. I think we can conclude that Beauty Within is an all-inclusive practice. You cannot do one without the other. You focus on your spiritual, the physical, nutrition, and the inner structure as well. So thank you so much, ladies, for your time and for your contribution.
Health for Mzansi is WhatsApp official. At Health for Mzansi, we put people first. So we have created a safe space where you can get access to our latest health features and be part of a health community. Join our Health Squad or Health Heroes group for more information. Don't forget to follow us on social media.